All right, here we are at our webinar. And what does your image really communicate? And it's a crazy day here in South Carolina. We have the storm, Hurricane Florence. We have a governor who's mandated an evacuation today. It's the anniversary of 9/11. And we're going to talk about your image, which it could sound superficial, but it's really not. It's how you present yourself, and it's really about, do you care enough about the way you present yourself to let other people come up with the right story about you, rather than just leaving that, to random. Let's see who we have here. Hi, Karen, Charlotte, Jenny. My mom is here. Hi, Mom. Tori's here. We have some people from Columbia, Laura Fuller, Liz, and Malia. We have a young woman who represents, speaking of tailoring, Malia, Margaret just told me that your tailor is your best friend, but we have a young woman who represents a company that sells customized clothing to men. So that's a company out of Columbia. So I'm going to tell you guys about Margaret. She's our first guest who is not in South Carolina. I met her virtually through a friend in Savannah, and Margaret Batting believes that everyone is the creator and author of his or her story, and a story that elucidates on the individual's vision, operating values, and desired outcomes. She's a personal branding activator. Isn't that cool? And she helps professionals up-level their narrative, their visual presence, their communication skills, so that they can better tell their story and influence the story that other people tell about them. So she's an expert in personal branding, professional image, verbal and nonverbal communication. So she's another communication pro like myself with a different specialty. And she helps people, professionals, to show up with confidence and credibility on a consistent basis. She mostly works with people who are about to up-level their professions. They're going to get a raise, or they want one, or they're going to move to a different position. So promotions, career switches. She has more than 15 years of working with Fortune 500 companies. So she did her time in the corporate world. And she's worked with executives from companies like Merrill Lynch, Staples, Career Builder, Bank of America, A.T. Kearney, Amgen, and AAA Southern New England. So Margaret lives in Rhode Island, where she's not being threatened by a hurricane, but she says they still have humidity, and she lives there with her son. So Margaret, tell us how you got into this personal branding, or the image business. Like, how did you get started?
Well, first I want to say thank you for having me, Laura. It's a pleasure and a privilege, and hello to everyone. Although we're not having the weather you're having, as Laura said, it's really humid, so my hair might expand during occasions. So I also have to say I absolutely love what I do, and I'm so grateful I found my second career. And the way I got started was I worked in corporate for a very long time, and I decided that I was working with, I had big teams of people, and I really couldn't affect change the way I wanted to with these people. I was really great at identifying high potentials, but because we didn't have a lot of time during our, daily schedule, it was hard for me to help these individuals reach their full potential in the way that I wanted to do it. So I decided to have a greater impact on more people, I would have to launch my own business. And while I was still in corporate, I took vacations, I studied, I got certified. And while I was still working, I launched my business. The second reason why I did it was I had 11 different bosses while I was in one company in corporate. And I said to myself, I can't do this forever. And I was always in like a startup role or building something new. So I had that entrepreneurial spirit, and I just wanted to go out on my own and really do that and have a greater impact. And then the third reason was when we switched from business formal to business casual, I saw a huge shift in how people started operating. They really didn't understand what it meant to be in like business casual environment. So what happened was they were starting to kind of lower their standards and not come across as professionally and as effective as they could. So I saw there was a huge potential in that. And also when I left my role, the economy tanked. And this is when people were going out there and trying to get positions. So I was working with Career Builder and traveled all over the country, giving presentations to people who were going through the job transition process. So helping them with visual presence, interviewing skills, communication skills to set themselves apart. So I found like a huge niche. Not only do I work private one-on-one, but companies hire me to work with their new hires, their future leaders, people who are moving to the next level or need to come across with that leadership or executive presence. So that's really kind of why I got into it.
Excellent. I want to say to the people on the webinar that if you have any question at any point, don't put it in the Q&A section, but put it in the chat. And I will relay the question to Margaret. But first of all, the first question has to do with how do we know how we're being perceived by others versus how we perceive ourselves? Like how would I know how people are perceiving me?
Well, that's kind of a tough question. You don't know until you actually ask. Okay. And this is what I always challenge my clients to do. And they look at me with like deer in the headlights. They say, what? I have to go and ask people? And I say, yes, you won't know unless you ask. And certainly if you're not getting the results that you want at work, excuse me, or that you desire, then something isn't working for you. So it's really helpful to ask those questions and also to take a step back and think about, how do I want to be perceived? When I walk into a room, so they've done studies, it takes about a quarter of a second for people to assess our competence and trustworthiness based solely on how we look. And our visual presence.
It doesn't seem fair.
It doesn't seem fair, but this is a natural reaction. We'll do this to the day we die. We've done it for thousands of years, and it's because we need to assess the situation. It's like that friend or foe thing. So we still do it. But now we can be very mindful that that's happening. And then how do we take control and figure out how is it that I want to come across? So taking that step back and saying, when I walk into a room, what do I want people to immediately think about me? And that's kind of the first step. And then you talk to people. It could be your manager, it could be a colleague, it could be a peer, it could be a friend, and say, this is how I'm trying to come across. Am I doing that? And if you're not, then you have some work to do. If you are, then that's great.
Right. Well, I always say that life has a way of giving you feedback. And so like if you've been overlooked for a promotion that you know you're ready for, that would definitely be something to look at. But I know that some of us, like we have this struggle between wanting to really be authentic ourselves, and yet we want to be perceived as powerful, as competent, as somebody who can handle big things. So how do you manage that tension?
Well, I think, again, it's starting from within, and that's what I always do. I start with someone's, their vision for their life, their operating values, their mission. What is it that they want to be doing? And then how are they operating within that, as well as within their organization. So if you don't have the same values as the company you're working for, you're probably never going to feel authentic at work. So that's kind of step one. And then step two, sometimes we have to move out of our comfort zone a little bit because you're going to be stretching. So it may not be authentic to you to be visible all the time, but maybe that's something that you have to step into. So I'm a born introvert. I was super shy as a child. Getting up in front of, oh my God, I used to want to pass out. I used to get sick to my stomach. But I realized to move forward in my career, I had to conquer it. And I did. So it's not my go-to place. Like I'm not that one who wants like fame and fortune and to be seen all the time. But when I need to, and I want to help my clients and companies get to where they need to be, I step into that role.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But I want to go into it. Like you said, you mentioned operating values.
Yes.
Like, can you give me some examples, like what that would be?
Yes. So, for example, standing in your truth. No matter what, I always tell the truth. I never tell a white lie. I figure out the best way to say what it is that I need to say. I always operate from a place of good intent. I put myself in the other person's shoes before I respond. I will say sorry when I'm wrong. So it's how do I operate every day? Because if you think about it, we're all brands, whether we've created them or not. And we need to think about what is that brand experience we want people to have with us. And it starts with the visual. And then we have the opportunity to open up and have that communication and develop those relationships.
Right. But if you give the wrong impression, you might not get the opportunity to go further with that. Am I right? I mean, that's a problem that some people have, that they have something really important to tell the world, but people for some reason don't want to engage because they're getting the wrong perception.
Right.
So
or it takes them longer, Laura, to get a longer process.
So how do specific clothing choices, like how can we make the best clothing choices for any given situation?
Well, I think first you have to think about the message you want to communicate.
Okay.
Because from the top of our head to the tip of our toes, everything is communicating a message. Our hairstyle, the way we wear our facial hair, the earrings, how we wear our makeup, the colors we choose. You know, colors can make us look sick, tired, and old, or young, vibrant, and fresh. They can also say we're in a power position, or they can say, you know what, we're a little weak. It's extremely interesting what color can actually do for you. So you have to be mindful of, what are the messages that you want to convey? If you want to convey, laid back, then you're going to wear clothing that's very casual. If you want to say, you know what, I'm the person who's in charge, you may wear a dress shirt and nice dress trousers, or you're going to put a blazer on. Like I have a blazer on today. I always wear blazers. We talked about that earlier. I'm very petite. I want to come across as, taking up more space, coming across as being in charge.
Mm-hmm. And I like to wear color. I've been wearing white today. I mean, red is my favorite color. So is that okay? Are there colors that give the wrong impression?
Well, you want to think about it. So, for example, if you want to come across as being more approachable, then you're going to want to wear color. You're not going to want to wear black. You're not going to want to wear red. You're probably going to stick to more blues and some earth tone colors, because those make you come across as being more approachable. Also, if you wear the color of your eyes pop out of your head, and we engage with people here, and immediately with the eyes. So if you're meeting someone for the first time, you don't want to necessarily wear red. Red is a super power color. And you're saying, you know what? I'm the one in charge. I'm super authoritative. I'm taking control of everything.
Wow. That's
there's a lot. If you're presenting if you're going to be on stage for an hour, you're going to want to wear one of those colors, because you're going to want to show up.
Okay.
You want people to see you from afar, but you never want to do anything that's going to detract from your message. So remember, this is your communication center. So you don't want to have like crazy hair, crazy makeup, big earrings. Right. You want people to be hearing what you're saying. Your clothing just complements that message, and body language and facial expressions.
All right. So what can we do if we want to upgrade our look because we want a promotion, or I want to charge more? I want to, to have that perception of high value. What can I do?
Well, I think one of the first things you can do is invest in you. So investing in the best quality that you can afford for your clothing. I always tell my clients, I'd rather you have 5 fabulous outfits than 25. So,
so what about repeating then? You think it's okay to repeat?
I repeat all the time, and you can mix and match. There's a whole strategy to mixing and matching, and I'm big into simplifying. We only wear 20% of what's in our closet, so what's the other 80% is just taking up room. And it's usually those clothes that we say we're going to get back into. You're never going to get back into them, probably, or at least not today, okay? And they're clothing that's probably never going to come back in style unless it's true designer, you know, that kind of thing. So we want to keep our closet simple and relevant.
Okay, and the high quality. We do have a question from a panelist, from somebody in the audience. She wants you to talk more about red. She loves color. You know, that's the kind of, I think Southern women, we're known for dressing more in colors.
Yes.
So she says, what about this wearing just a small amount of red? Or if you want to wear red, where should you wear it so that you're still approachable?
Oh, so you can do red in a pattern. You could do red in a scarf. You could do red in an accessory. So a red belt. You could do, like, you know, the leather bracelets, or the leather with metals are in, very cool. You know, simple. You could do a smaller red red necklace. There are a lot of ways that you can do it, but you can certainly do it in a pattern. Like, she could do a really beautiful red top underneath a jacket and just balance it out, like under a white jacket. That would be nice. It's when you're in like a full-on suit in red or full-on dress in red. You just want to be mindful of that.
Yeah, I have a red dress, and I did not know that it gave off that signal. I would now go wear it for a presentation, but not necessarily for networking.
Right.
Yeah, small touch of red. Okay, red is a big theme here.
And it's one of my you can't do this. Like, it's your choice. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm just giving you some science.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to hear. I mean, that's why we're talking to you, because we don't know, and you do know. And before we went live with the webinar, Margaret and I were talking and mentioning tailoring. And Margaret told me that your tailor is your best friend. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why that's important? And I want everybody to know I have a really good tailor in Charleston, those of you who are local, that I can recommend.
Well, tailoring can immediately make a garment look more expensive. And also tells people that you're investing in you. When you roll your sleeves up in a blazer, I get 2 messages. I'm lazy and I'm not investing in myself. So, and your hands are a sign of capability. You don't want your jacket coming down to here. It just looks unfinished and unpolished. So when you tailor your clothes, and you want your clothes to fit you appropriately. You don't want clothing that looks too big or that's too small. So you can tailor it to fit. A lot of women struggle. They may have bigger hips, but they're always trying to fit their waist. You fit for your hips, you have the waist taken in. And then the hem of pants. I see people who pants are dragging on the ground. That should never happen.
Yeah, that does.
You know, hem your pants to a flat shoe and hem it to a heel. They're different. You have to have, if you love black pants, you need to have 2 different pair of black pants. One to wear with a flat, one to wear with a heel. Right,
because that if I didn't care enough to hem my pants, then you're going to think that I don't do good work, even if I happen to.
It's those little details, and it seems superficial, but all of this stuff is happening subconsciously in our heads. We're immediately looking at people and making, assessments.
Right. And I think with all the distractions we have, we're making those decisions even faster on the subconscious level. I have another question for you from Becky, and she wants to know, this is a good one. What does your handbag say about you?
Your handbag can say a lot about you. I think you have to be, I'm always very careful in the corporate environment. I wasn't one to to carry designer bags in a corporate environment, because it's a sticky wicket. You could be a more junior person and be given a gift of a designer bag, and your boss is, you know, above you and doesn't have a designer bag. So I don't know. I kind of like to keep things neutral in the workplace. I also wouldn't wear a lot of jewelry that had been gifted to me from my parents. I just wanted to keep everything somewhat neutral, and I was there to get a job done and to deliver the results. I wasn't there to really be a fashion plate and kind of demonstrating my designer sense. I kind of saved that for my personal life.
So for work, you're just recommending just a very simple, should it be leather? Does it matter?
Well, it really depends, again, on your, some people don't like leather. There may many other, non-leather options out there.
Right.
To me, it's all about quality, and it's about what do you want your message to be.
Okay, so give me some examples, though, about how that relates to a purse. Like, what kind of purse gives what kind of message?
Well, I think if your purse isn't in great shape, again, it's showing that you're not taking care of it and that you're not really caring about quality. Okay. So, and then when you have a designer bag, it's kind of telling people where you're spending your money and what your value system is about. So you just want to think about, so say you're working in a nonprofit, I probably wouldn't take a Louis Vuitton bag to a nonprofit.
Right.
But then again, it's a choice. It's a choice, though. So I don't want to tell people they can't do it. I just want to say people are going to view it through different lenses. Some people are going to think it's perfectly fine and expected, and other people may think, you know what, that's maybe not. But really, at the end of the day, I just always say invest in a quality leather handbag that doesn't scream a particular, designer.
Like Coach. What about a Coach bag?
Yeah, Coach. I always go for understated in for work for the most part. And some of the Louis Vuitton bags, like the tote bags, I think those are fine too. I just think if you get into some of the bags that are very loud, I think understated designer bags are totally fine. It's just anything that's like super loud that doesn't look, professional.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask now a question about shoes, and I just want to tell everybody, please get your questions in because we don't have a whole lot more time. It's 12:23. We can go over a little bit, but we really take advantage. We have this great expert who's telling us the truth about red and handbags and shoes. So I want to know about shoes, flats versus high heels, sandals. What does it matter what kind of heel I wear when I go to an event?
I think there are a lot of factors that go into this, and this is always a huge topic. I think first people have to look at what their dress code is at work, because some companies don't allow open-toed shoes. True. Because of a number of reasons. But if they do, just make sure your feet look good. Men don't necessarily have this issue. But I've worked with people who haven't taken care of their feet, and I really don't want to have that visual, and I don't want to remember them for their feet. So making sure that you're taking care of your feet. I'm not a big proponent of super flats, like ballet flats.
Okay.
In a work environment, unless it's super casual, then it's fine. But I think having some type of heel just differentiates from being really casual to I'm in like a work environment.
Okay, but if you're not tall, you don't have to wear a high heel. You can wear
you never have to. You never have to wear a heel. I think it for me, I like to wear somewhat of a heel because I'm 5'2". So I like to be a little bit taller. It also makes me look leaner when I wear a heel. So again, and people have issues with their feet too. So,
comfort, or how you're on your feet all day.
Right. So choose a shoe that's, professional looking.
All right, so here we have a question from Karen. What is the best outfit to wear for a job interview? One time it was a suit. Is that old fashioned? Skirt. She's asking what to wear for a job interview. And she
Okay, that's a super tough question these days because it depends. Like this is the typical consultant answer. It depends. So you have to look at where is the interview? What's the industry? What level? Who are you interviewing with? And what is their dress code? So you kind of have to do a little bit more research because a suit isn't necessarily the answer anymore. It could be separates, it could be a dress, it could be a skirt and a blouse. I mean, if it's a startup company, you're not going to wear a suit. If it's financial high-end New York City, you are going to wear a suit and you're probably going to have to wear stockings. So you got to do some research.
Okay, so they still wear hose in New York?
Some for interviewing. I remember speaking with a woman a couple of years ago, and not even that long ago, and she said, yeah, I expect hose on an interview.
Wow. Well, that would be very hot down here. All right. Do we have, let's see, there's a question here on the Q&A. I get that visuals matter. Hey, Elena, and how we present ourselves. Can you comment about the balance between visual presentation versus attitude and confidence?
Okay. Well, I think they all go hand in hand. So I think your visual presence has to support your attitude, and I think your visual presence helps to up level your confidence.
Okay. And she's actually in New York, and she's saying, absolutely, pantyhose in New York City.
Really? Did you say that? Yeah. I think in the financial industry, it's different. It's very different. It's very different.
Yes, and they probably have really strong air conditioning. I guess, and it's not the same weather as here. All right. We have just a couple more minutes if you have questions, and then Margaret, if you'd like to tell people how anyone here wants to work with you on some specific, tailored, customized coaching or advice, how that would work.
Okay, so they can either email me at margaret@margaretbatting.com, or that's probably the best way to get in touch with me. And you know what? I'm going to give a different email address. Actually, I'm going to give my company one, other company one. I have to spell this one. It's Eleve, ELEVE, style @gmail.com.
And I'll put that in the follow-up emails.
Okay. Because sometimes the emails are linked, but sometimes something happens to the Margaret one. I don't know why. Anyway, or they can reach me at 617-645-4414. And what we can do is we can have an initial consultation over the phone, and then we can decide if it's something that they want to move forward with or not.
Oh, that sounds good. And we have another question here. If you have any literature on this topic for further reading, that's a good question. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anything that used to be Dress for Success? Is there anything that you recommend that we read, or maybe you need to write that book?
Yeah, right. I think there are tons of articles. If you Google, I can send you a link to some updated information that I found that they can take a look at.
Oh, okay, we'll do that. So we'll send a link, and follow-up communication with the recording of this, and we'll include your contact or Margaret's contact information and the links to the articles. All right. Anybody else have a question? Laura, I actually, Malia says this is the woman who does men's custom clothing. She does women's custom clothing, styling, and tailors as well. Okay. So there is someone in Charleston who is called Liam John, LIAMJOHN. And she'll come to your house, take your measurement, show you fabric samples, and help you get some customized clothing. Probably not a red suit, though.
No, not a red suit, but one that fits you perfectly, which is wonderful.
Right. Now that we know that tailoring makes your clothes look expensive,
Yes,
and that's
and finding the styles that work for your body shape and size, because you could like a certain style or a trend, but it doesn't work for you. So
right.
you
There's
got to
so
pass
many
on.
things that they look great on the models, and then you try it on and just looks frumpy or
Right. You got to figure out your style. Your style. You got to figure out your messaging first. You know, combine it with your style, and then communicate that consistently.
All right. Well, this has been fascinating. I thank everybody for participating and your good questions. So we're going to send out the recording later on. We're going to send out links to articles. You got Margaret's contact information. She'll be happy to talk to you about your specific situation. Thank you, Becky, and we appreciate everybody's tuning in on this crazy day. I'm going to end it. Say goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right.